Right now with COVID-19, there's a lot of fear of catching illnesses, but more so for people that have autoimmune or other underlying conditions like myself. Hi, my name is Ryan and I have an underlying condition called small fiber neuropathy. Right now, people like me are very fearful of catching something called the cytokine storm. And no, it's not some type of weird weather accumulation. I'm not a meteorologist. But what it actually is an immune reaction gone wild. So I sat down with clinical nutritionist and certified Wahls practitioner Mary Ann, who has expert experience with the cytokine storm and autoimmune illnesses. Let's see what she had to say. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sitting here with Mary Ann Reidy, who is a clinical nutritionist and certified Wahls practitioner. She has a ton of professional experience in the field of nutrition. She's a director of nutrition counseling for an integrative medical center. She has lectured and written on nutrition health topics for the past 25 years, and currently Mary Ann's private nutrition counseling practice and podcasts are focused on autoimmune disorders, food allergies, longevity, self-care, cancer prevention. She has her website, nutritionnetwork.net. I will put all that in the description. You have a background, you've lived with MS for the last 40 years, and you've been kicking its butt day in, day out. With the whole COVID-19 thing going on, there's been a lot of talk about something called the cytokine storm, and I probably butchered that too because I'm just oh, I didn't.
Say it.
Hot dog. I wanted to ask you that because there's this high fear with the COVID thing causing that. What exactly is a cytokine storm?
Well, it's basically an immune reaction gone wild. So it's a great question because understanding what a cytokine storm is and why it matters during the COVID-19 virus pandemic is really important. So these viral infections can be fatal due to this overreaction of the immune system, which is, called the cytokine storm. So the cytokines are just these little small cell proteins, and they're signaling proteins. So what that means is it sends out a signal to the body, and so they're released by many different cells in the body, like the immune system. So that's what we're dealing with right now with the virus, and they coordinate the body's response against infection. And then they trigger inflammation. They are the body's response against the infection, and they are the immune system's messengers. All right, so they're just sending out messages, and we don't store them, which right now is a good thing because if you have an overproduction of them, you don't want to be storing them as well. They're newly synthesized, and they are released when you get an infection or an injury, or even if somebody, when someone has a stroke or a heart attack. These cytokines they come to the rescue.
Right.
So they can be either anti-inflammatory or they can be pro-inflammatory. The ones that we're concerned about right now that we're focusing on with the COVID-19 is the pro-inflammatory cytokines. So normally we would think that a robust immune system, that's ready, willing, and able, we think that's a good thing. So our survival often depends on it. Otherwise, if the immune system's not working, you could get a secondary infection if you're suppressed. So we don't want that. But in this case, the cytokines are the body's overreaction to the virus. So when the coronavirus enters the lungs, it triggers an immune response that sends a signal to the rest of the body. But in this case, it's kind of uncontrolled. So there's a cytokine cascade that happens, but it's becoming uncontrolled. And so that's hyperinflammation. And that's really what's causing the serious illness and the death that we're seeing in people with the virus. Right now, we're seeing that people are reacting in a very predictable, catastrophic way. So it's not like one thing's happening. It's really the same in a lot of these people that are dying. It starts out in the lung, but then it's flooding the lungs. And then the lungs are filling with water. And then also because the cytokines move through the bloodstream, it's affecting other parts of the body, like the lungs, the liver is what I wanted to say, and the kidneys. So that's what you're seeing happening. So it's spreading through the bloodstream.
Right. So it sounds bad. Who is, I guess, more susceptible to this cytokine storm happening to them as opposed to someone that may have a strong immune system right now?
Right. So that's a great question because you're wondering why one person overreacting and somebody else seems to have mild symptoms. Because I do know a couple of very close friends. One is a dental hygienist, and she had it because it's really high risk before we knew this was happening. Even though they protect themselves, she still came down with it. And she had a fairly mild case of it, but her elderly parents, who she was living with, became hospitalized. So it seems that young people might have less of a developed immune system than an older person. So an older person might have more of a reaction. I mean, that's one theory, that a young person just doesn't have, I guess, development in their immune system is all I can think of. And then they're believing that it's a hyperactive immune reaction. So cytokines are also play a part in autoimmune disease. So it's not just with a viral infection. So for example, they're thinking there's a good connection with cytokine storm in MS, multiple sclerosis, because the cytokines will then attack the myelin sheath, which is the nerve coating, and that's what's causing the scarring. So in the case with COVID-19, if somebody does have an underlying autoimmune disease, they might be at greater risk because they're already dealing with something like this, especially if they have asthma or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is called COPD. So a person that has cardiovascular disease, because we're saying like it might start in the lungs, but the bloodstream will carry these cytokines to the body. So somebody with cardiovascular disease, especially if there's some kind of blood clotting that's happening because of the virus, they're going to be at more at risk for this too, for there to be a serious effect from it. Also, some people might have an underlying genetic defect that we just don't know. And that might cause them to have an overreaction. And we don't know it because there's no symptom of it. There's no blood test for it. So we'd say, oh, so-and-so died and they didn't have a pre-existing condition. Well, they might have. They might have had some kind of genetic predisposition that makes them overreact to some kind of viral infection.
I suppose for someone like yourself and me who have these extremely compromised systems in our body, what are some precautions that we can kind of be on our best defense in order to prevent this from happening, hopefully?
Right now, while we're sheltering in place, this is really a great time to focus on self-care. Self-care, of course, you have to do these things at home. So if somebody was going out for like a massage, which I did, we can't do that right now. While we're sheltering in place, it's like the obvious stuff. A healthy diet. So that means like whole natural foods, right? So we're going to try to, I know it's really hard. Nobody wants to hear this because everyone's going for snacks right now, but lower sugar content are better. So you don't want to be eating a lot of cookies, crackers, cake, candy, soda, and even gluten-free. I used to work at these gluten-free fairs. Some of that stuff is real garbage, gluten-free. It's loaded with sugar. So you have to look at that. And if you're a vegetarian, you could have a 6-pack of beer and a bag of potato chips and you're a vegetarian. Right now, sugar is really bad for the immune system. I mean, it always is. But right now, it's something that you just want to be more careful about. So you just don't want elevated blood sugar levels. Then the other thing is we need to make sure we're getting enough of the immune supporting nutrients like vitamin C. So I don't think the recommended daily allowance of 60 milligrams a day is enough in this situation. I mean, Linus Pauling, who is like the godfather of vitamin C, he even recommends 1,000 milligrams a day in a normal situation. Vitamin A is good for the immune system. And then we need vitamin D and the B complex vitamins. And then we have minerals. So zinc is one of the macro minerals that we need, and selenium, which is more of a micro mineral. You don't need much of that. And even like if you like Brazil nuts, 3 Brazil nuts a day give you enough selenium. So you need enough sleep, and it's like 7 to 8 hours because the body needs to repair itself and regenerate itself. And you do that while you're sleeping. And then like take a power nap. Power naps are great. As long as it doesn't keep you awake. I'm not great at napping because it does actually interfere in me being able to fall asleep later, but if it doesn't, go for it. And then of course, exercise. And like now more than ever, these exercise videos online, like everybody, like my gym, they're online. So you can follow, what they're doing. If they're doing like something on their porch or whatever. A girlfriend of mine does a Zumba class. She's doing it online.
That's cool. Definitely
find that. And if you keep safe, if you do the 6 feet, you want to wear a mask. If you're in a populated area, you can still go for a walk or a jog, and then you get your vitamin D naturally that way. So that's a good thing. But then there's something else that's really important that I don't think we talk enough about. It's really important right now to help us stimulate the vagus nerve.
So what is the vagus nerve? Why is it important? What happened to Ryan's shirt? And what the hell is going on with his hair? Well, you'll almost find out all the answers to these questions in the next part of the interview with Marianne. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and find me on Instagram at Ryan Mitchell Brown. Hit me up anytime. Hope to see you in the next one.